Hello, my name is Jeffrey Nicholas. I'm a professor of philosophy at Providence College. This is a brief lecture on the Iroquois and democracy, particularly on the influence of the Iroquois on the development of U.S. democracy. So the Iroquois, that's actually a French term. They call themselves the Haudenosaunee, which means people of the Longhouse or people building the Longhouse. This would be a group of First Nation peoples in the Americas living in the northeast of the Americas. So what's currently New York, Connecticut, Boston, Maine, Vermont, etc. In 1142, they came together to form a confederacy. There were 5 nations that joined the confederacy, and then a 6th one was added later. So the Mohawks, which means people of Flint Country, the Onondaga, people of the hills, Cayuga, where they land the boats, Oneida, people of the Standing Stone, and Seneca, people of the Big Hill. And in 1722, the Tuscarora, people of the shirt, joined the Confederacy. They were brought together by the Peacemaker, and they formed the oldest living participatory democracy in the world. So quite a long time for them to be around, and they continue to operate as a democracy within the United States today. So the Peacemaker, his name is Deganawada, I will just call him the Peacemaker, gives this image that we can consider the foundation of what he's trying to do. So the Peacemaker's tree had 4 white roots which stretched to the 4 directions of the earth. In many Native American religions and philosophies, there is a focus on the 4 directions, south, north, east, west. So that's true here as well. From the base of the tree, a snowy white carpet of thistledown would cover the surrounding countryside. The white carpet protected the peoples that embraced the 3 double principles, and we'll look at what the 3 double principles are in just a moment. On top of the giant pine, an eagle was perched. The Peacemaker explained that the tree was humanity living within the principles governing relations among human beings. The eagle was humanity's lookout against enemies who would disturb the peace. The Peacemaker postulated that the white carpet could be spread to the 4 corners of the earth to provide a shelter of peace and brotherhood for all humankind. The Peacemaker's vision was a message from the Creator to bring harmony into human existence and unite all peoples into a single family guided by his 3 dual principles. So the focus here is on harmony and unity between all peoples and nature. And this is done with these 3 double principles that we are going to look at. Now, the Peacemaker brought this to the warring nations that later came to be the Iroquois, or be called the Iroquois. And at the time, these were just warring tribes, and many of them practicing some form of ritual cannibalism. And what the Peacemaker was trying to do was provide a different vision, a different way of life. And I think that's important to keep in mind as we ourselves are looking for a different way of life past all the violence of our own age. And this idea, I think, is very powerful, that this peace can be spread out to the 4 corners of the earth and shared with all human beings. It relies on these 3 double principles, which form the heart of the philosophy for the 5, now 6 nations. So, health of mind and body goes together with peace among individuals and groups. Obviously, we need that health for the mind and body as a foundation, but peace is part of that, right, of the health of mind and body. Righteousness and conduct goes with equality and adjustments of rights and obligations. So there's a balance there, right? And our righteousness and our conduct, how we conduct ourselves, contributes to that equality. But of course, that also allows us to be righteous. And then physical strength, power, and order goes with spiritual power. The Iroquoian word here is orinda. It's similar to other words in different native languages that is something more than what Europeans and Americans mean by soul, and it spreads to all living creatures. So those are the three double principles by which people among the Iroquois try to live their lives, and which forms the foundation of this tree. So the peacemaker's idea is that if we all accept these three double principles and live our lives, we can spread our peace throughout the world with those three double principles. Now, Iroquois political society is a participatory democracy. There's a belief that life is united spiritually with all living things. So like many other First Nation peoples of America, there is this idea that human beings belong with the natural world, and that there's something not just physically but spiritually that unites all of us with each other. So wolves and owls and trees united together with human beings, right? Individual spiritual power is limited, but together, united, we are great. So there again is this emphasis on unity. Loyalty to the group is important, yet that should not undermine independence and honesty with the individual. Iroquoian society is matrilineal, so the clan mother would be the head of the family. Husbands went to live with the wives. Leaders are chosen by the women, and lineage is through the mother, and authority comes from the people itself. So this idea that authority comes from the people is part of that idea that united we are together. So the authority belongs with the unity of people, not with the individual. Again, the peacemaker wanted to end the various feuds and the cannibalism that he found in the people, particularly the Mohawks. At the time, was his first group to belong to this peaceful society, and it's that desire to bring about peace that forms the unity here. Political society is based on debate and decision making. There's checks and balances here, terms that we might think about in relationship to the United States as well. And then power flows up from the families to the Grand Council. Right, so the Grand Council does not interfere with the affairs of the different clans, but it can make various policies that extend the relationship from the clans out. But it's the families united together that give the authority and power to the Grand Council. Now, the Iroquois had a significant influence on the development of U.S. democracy. So they were around, obviously, as the 13 colonies were developing and before they formed the United States. So Kanasatoga, who was a leader of the Iroquois, said to Benjamin Franklin, "Our wise forefathers established union and amity between the 5 nations. This has made us formidable. This has given us great weight and authority with our neighboring nations. We are a powerful confederacy, and by your observing the same methods our wise forefathers have taken, you will acquire fresh strength and power." This was very influential to Franklin. He's written about it. He wrote about it in a variety of letters and spoke about it to people. And so in coming up with the idea of forming a union, a confederacy, if you will, out of the 13 colonies, Benjamin Franklin said, "It would be a very strange thing if the 6 nations of ignorant savages," so obviously despairing, there's a lot of racism in that statement, and yet he wants to say that we're learning something from them. "It would be a very strange thing if 6 nations of ignorant savages should be capable of forming a scheme for such a union, and be able to execute it in such a manner as that it has subsisted for ages, and appear indissoluble, and yet that a like union should be impracticable for 10 or a dozen English colonies, to whom it is more necessary and must be more advantageous, and whom cannot be supposed to want an equal understanding of their interests." So Franklin is obviously influenced by the Iroquois Confederacy, and he uses that to argue for a union among the 13 colonies. There's much more to say. In the U.S. Senate actually passed a resolution in 1988 recognizing the influence of First Nation peoples on the democracy of the United States. In their resolution, they said the confederation of the original 13 colonies into one republic was influenced by the political system developed by the Iroquois Confederacy, as were many of the democratic principles which were incorporated into the Constitution itself. Now, the seal here of the United States, part of which is depicted here, I want to focus here on these 13 arrows. And again, this is Canastego in 1744, talking about the Confederacy and trying to convince Franklin and others for the 13 colonies to join. And he says that many arrows together cannot be broken as easily as one. And so in the seal, you see the 13 arrows there is a symbol of and done in recognition of that image by Canastego. So again, even the Iroquois philosophy is built into this image that is so representative of the United States. So the Iroquois had a significant influence on the union of the 13 colonies and the growing United States. You can look at some of the ideas behind the Confederacy of the Iroquois and find similar ideas in the Constitution of the United States, and I encourage you on your own to look into those things. It's important to think about how what we think of as the democracy in the United States is different from what we would have found in Europe and in European history at the time. It's much closer to what we would find among the Iroquois. But it's that union, I think, that's important to think about in those 13 arrows, that the 13 arrows together cannot be broken as easily as one, particularly as we think about our own time period today and the divisiveness that we have seen so much in the United States over the last couple of decades, but really ramped up in the last 4 years. And to return to that idea that it's unity that desire for peace that takes us away from our wars and our cannibalism and our eating each other alive. And that is in some ways a metaphor, but also in many ways how we could describe parts of the United States today. So I think we still have something to learn from the Iroquois and from living according to those three double principles. I hope you find some value in studying the Iroquois yourself. Thank you.